Bear with. Boom. We're recording. Now we're cooking. Yeah, please bear with us as we go through the motions and get everything dialed in. Um, okay, cool. Awesome. Well, today is June 28th, 2022. This is the commencement of the Lentz Neighborhood Association General Membership Meeting. 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. We are at Woody Guthrie Place in Portland, Oregon, 97266. And we will start with our first item on our meeting agenda, introduction of board members. This will be a timed meeting. Yeah. Okay. Please respect our timekeeper. So please respect our timekeeper. When your time is up, we will move right along. So we can start at the end of the table with our introduction of board members.
My name is Ken McKinney. I'm LNA treasurer.
Can they hear him on there? Okay, you might have to speak up a little bit so they can hear you on the Zoom.
I'm going to take my mask off for a moment. My name is Ken McKinney. I'm LNA treasurer.
Yeah, I think when we're presenting, we might want to take our mask off.
Hi, I'm Bradley. I'm the transportation chair.
I'm Joanna. I'm the vice chair.
Hi, I'm Jessica Ward, and I am the chair.
No. All right, I was finishing typing for everybody who went before me. My name is Jasmine, and I am the public safety chair. I think that's the title of that.
Wonderful. So now those are all of the board members who are currently present. Now we will go into our agreements for LNA general membership meeting. We will avoid speaking out of turn, interruption, personalization of negative feedback, talking down to others, placing blame, or being disrespectful. Also, we will assume good intentions, respect the agenda, facilitators, and process. If you've already spoken tonight, consider making space for others to feel heard. Respect different viewpoints, respect boundaries, offer constructive criticism or purposeful solutions, welcome new members and guests, get involved. Please note, breaking any of our agreements may be grounds for removal at the meeting, at the discretion of the facilitator. Hate speech of any kind will not be tolerated. We aim for this to be a safe space for everyone, and we invite you to help us maintain it. Wonderful. Okay. So the next thing we have is our updates from our lovely board members. So I'll start off first. Should we close that door, do you think, since it's kind of noisy? Yeah. I was going to say maybe one of them, or do you think we should do both? I don't know. Can they hear us good on there? Let us know if you guys are having trouble hearing us on the Zoom as well. I guess they can always catch the meeting minutes later if they can't hear something. Okay, that's good. Yep. Okay. So first update as far as our agenda goes, we have a resignation. Nancy, who is our secretary, has resigned from the LNA. Super unfortunate. We're going to miss her. We will commence delegation of her responsibilities to new board members and the conversation about having an intern person for our secretary at our next board meeting, I suppose. So that's the update with that.
Currently, Jasmine's taking minutes.
Currently, yes, our lovely person, Jasmine, here is doing the minutes for this meeting. So that's a temporary thing unless we decide
We could
different going
rotate-
forward.
We could rotate
Yeah.
through those minutes until we find somebody.
Yeah, and we'll chat about that the next board meeting.
Okay.
So yeah, there's that.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
And then minutes and meetings are to be recorded on Zoom. The meeting will be accessible to the general public through the Zoom. No one else has consent of anyone else here to record them without their permission, to take pictures or videos without their permission. So just want to let the record reflect that. Moving on and moving forward, we have some updates from our board with community happenings. I want everybody to feel like they have the chance to have the floor. Joanna, if you'd like to pass the baton on to Ken, then we'll keep it rolling from there.
Okay.
Did you want to?
Well,
We'll
I mean,
pass it on if you want to.
I have there's some events in the park that are happening, that are coming up. They're free for children. Every week, there's some summer camps, and they also give free lunch to those children that qualify. You can look that up on Portland Recreation, parksandrecreation.gov. There's the Lens Farmers Market that's happening here every Sunday. And it used to be over by the brewery, and now it's in this plaza right here. And then the other things that are happening, I'm trying to get more events for community events going since COVID. That has been a challenge, but I do believe they're coming back. So that's something we as a organization hope to promote and partner with other organizations in Lens to create more community events here in Lens, because I think that that's really important. So I just wanted to let everybody know that that's something I'm hoping on working on throughout the next year, just bringing those community events back for families. And if you guys hear anything or have any ideas, please let me know. One idea that I did see is that there is funds through one of the city organizations here in Portland that will give you a grant to put on a block party or a festival. So I was thinking that would be a good idea for Lens in the future. So I'm going to look into that. One of the things I would like to look into to create more community space here for families, because I know there's a lot of families that live here. And I think that we could, but there's not very many things happening here for families. It's one of the things I really want to work on. So I'm going to be talking to the board about that, and I've done some research. So something I hope to bring back at our next meeting with more of a firm plan after we've had one board meeting before this meeting. So the goal is to get more information out there to the public about things that we can plan. So that's one of the things I'm going to work on. That's it to you. Do you want to go next, Ken, or?
So I don't really have anything occurring urgently, transportation-wise, but there is a second, which they'll be doing community input starting in the coming months and going through a year or two. And that's going to be, I'll be sure to keep everyone updated on opportunities to provide input there. And as far as I've learned so far, there's no other major transportation projects coming down the pipeline for us. If you want to pass it on the torch.
Okay. I've got LNA treasurer's report. I'll give a copy here to the Jasmine Associate. doesn't have to write down as much stuff.
Oh, nice. That's helpful.
So just take a couple of minutes here. The following LNA licensing renewal forms have been filed. The IRS 990N e-postcard for nonprofits, filed by the LNA intern board chairperson. The other one was the Oregon Department of Justice Charitable Activities Division CT12 form, was filed by the LNA intern board secretary and intern treasurer, and it was filed by the deadline of May 15th, 2021, or excuse me, 2022. LNA has filed with the Oregon Secretary of State by the LNA Secretary. LNA bank account is pending transfer to the newly elected board. LNA bank account is currently retained by the former LNA board. Once the bank account is transferred over, the two people accessing the online LNA bank statements will be the LNA treasurer and the LNA vice chairperson. The two people signing the LNA bank checks as required by the LNA bylaws will be the LNA chairperson and LNA secretary. Let's see, according to the CT12 that was filed as of December 31st, 2021, the LNA bank account had a recorded balance of $1,504.19. It's not clear what the bank account balance is now, since the newly elected LNA board does not have access to the bank account to get statements. It may be about $1,000 based on operating expenses occurred since December 31st, 2021. Expenses as reported to the LNA Elections Nomination Committee by the LNA Intern Board included payment of PG&E bills through auto debit, which were about $30 a month. And it's a little low because the Lentz monument lighting got damaged by an auto accident. So it's just the east one that's running. Then there was the renewal of the internet domain Greenpost for about $140. Licensing with the Department of Justice was $20. It may have been donated by LNA intern treasurer. Let's see, it's not clear who has the LNA checkbook or who has access to it. That a sound financial practice, the LNA treasurer should retain the LNA checkbook, and also a sound financial practice, the LNA treasurer should not sign LNA checks. Also, get a sound financial practice, the LNA checkbook should not be retained by LNA check signatories. An appointment needs to be made with Unitas, with the former LNA board and newly elected board to effect transfer of access to the Unitas bank account. In terms of budget, LNA will have to come up with a budget, hopefully to be agended for discussion at the next board meeting. Currently, the minimum expenses to run LNA total around $400 annually, not including PG&E bills. The following expense numbers are approximate. $20 licensing with the Oregon Department of Justice Charitable Activities, $50 licensing with the Secretary of State, $140 renewal of the LNA domain name, and then $140 for the Zoom contract, and then a $50 space deposit for Woody Guthrie Meeting Room, and then $50 space rental if LNA decides to use Lentz Seventh-day Adventist Church Activity Center for general meetings. And then I'd like to say thanks to the LNA interim board members and the current LNA secretary for filing the appropriate nonprofit forms with the appropriate federal and state government agencies. And That almost ends the treasurer report. We've got some LA grant opportunities that I handed out earlier at the board meeting last night. Oh, that reminds me. I've got the transportation ticket. That's what I handed out at the last meeting.
Awesome.
Okay, Bradley, you're welcome. So there's grants available from EPCO, Communities Activities Fund, a reimbursement program. That's going to happen in November, and that'll allow up to $1,000 for reimbursement when we have the receipts, pardon me. And it can be used for operating expenses. EPCO has a small grants reimbursement project, which is roughly around $3,000, $5,000, but it's a project-based grant, and it usually opens in October or November. East Portland Action Plan community support grants have, it may be discontinued, but for now they have a mutual aid type of grant funding in response to COVID, and it's competitive, and it's up to $3,000. And it usually happens twice annually, usually in the spring and fall. Then there's the East Portland Action Plan, Civic Engagement General Grants. They're very competitive. You can, they're up to $10,000. They usually come open in springtime. And other grants or sponsorships, there's the more Metro Regional Refresh for cleanups up to $5,000, and that's project-based. And then what I'd like the board to consider and the membership to consider is joining the Lentz Grown Business Association. It would cost LNA $100 annually, and nonprofits can join. And if we join that, we are able to access Venture Portland grant funding.
Nice.
So that would be joining the Lentz Grown Business Association.
It sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, there are a bunch of good people. And let's see.
Oh, can I just say one thing to your about the Lentz Grown? I actually just got a text message from our guest speaker, Amy Hamden, Lentz Business Association, and she will not be able to make it this evening. They got COVID, so unfortunately she will not be here, but she sent me some information she would like to convey on her behalf. So anyway, sorry, Ken, go ahead.
Well, that's okay. It was funny because we went attended the meeting that Amy arranged with the Portland Business Association and Lentz Grown. And Sam Adams was supposed to be there, and he had a partner who came down with COVID. So it's just really weird how it keeps on
I just
coming
recovered
back
from
up.
COVID. I had COVID last week.
Oh, geez.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing we're wearing masks. Well, hopefully everybody.
I'm negative now, or I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here if I was positive.
That's why
Anyway.
I'm wearing masks. Anyway,
Yep.
thank you very much. And again, I'd like to thank I have to get all this here, the LNA interim board members and the current LNA secretary for filing the appropriate nonprofit forms with the appropriate federal and state government agencies. And I have to write all this down because I'm getting old and I can't remember very much.
We are rocking. Good stuff. Okay, Jasmine. That's all good.
Autumn says, thank you, Ken, for being so informed on grant opportunities. All right, so a couple of things. I'll do this one first. Actually, I'm sorry, I have to click around on here because I wrote myself, well, oh, I lied. Technology is great sometimes when you can find it. My phone. I went to that Reedway stakeholder meeting, and that was really pretty interesting. And there might even be enough for everybody. I didn't count. I just hit print. I think the other person who went might have been Nancy. Actually, I don't know.
It was supposed to be Mary Oxford.
Go.
Mary went and I went too. I was from One Strong. I went a lot.
Did Mary go?
I don't know.
But it was good. It was interesting, and
Yes,
so many
you
folders.
can
in it.
sign in right there.
There we go.
Welcome, welcome. Absolutely.
So they're hoping to be open sometime next year. It's not going to be one of their forever sites, which was news to me. When you see postings about it, nobody says that it's not going to be a forever site. So this one is stated temporary forever. This comes right off of their website. It's just the frequently asked questions. Anybody can go and download it. I did not make this. And then something else that just is not, did not come out of this meeting was that the joint office for houselessness, that budget did pass. So that budget was for these safe rest villages with the wraparound services. The budget passed. These are all now green lit and they are a go. Does anybody have questions about
What do you
that?
mean there we go? So we're gonna, there,
These have their budget.
okay.
They have their money.
They have their money, they're good to go, and there will be staff 24/7.
So that was one thing in that meeting. They had put out a notice to hire a staff specialist, support specialist.
Nice.
And they thought they had somebody.
They have somebody hired.
They were pretty sure, but they did not give a name. So.
I have a lot of
Okey-dokey.
information. Can I give
And
the
then,
board a different?
Um,
I have a lot of information about that I was one of the stakeholders too, that have been attending the last 4 months while LNA was on pause. So I was wondering at the end, can I give some updates on that too?
yeah, if we have time, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, did you want to add anything?
No, I just wanted to provide this and just kind of give the budget had passed and
So when,
you guys have specific.
Sounds
can you
good.
tell us when the like timeline is, like when it'll be
I know a lot.
open in 1 year, you said?
Yes, they were hoping to be open next year.
Okay.
Yeah, but last night at a Mill Park meeting,
Uh-huh.
it sounded like the whole all of the SRBs had kind of already been pushed back a little bit. So, it's gonna happen when it happens. But the hope is that by like summer next year, there will be these safe rest villages. So
And they don't have a firm address yet. but they're-
no, so they won't until they have broken ground and they have put. Oh gosh, I was just at a groundbreaking and I don't remember what the rules are, but no, they don't have addresses yet.
Okay. And the villages will be operating as a trauma-informed environment, which is good.
Mhm.
And so can you tell me, were they specific about the number of staff that they have?
No, I mean, they have the one support specialist, and then
there
they
living
talked
there?
about having 20 people that would be out in the community, bringing people in.
Nice.
Yeah, so they weren't specific about how many were going to be for each. There's a lot of people from a lot of different offices for kind of working for all across all of them. It really is very collaborative.
That's good.
And like I said, last night at a different neighborhood association meeting for my job, they spoke to another safe rest village where they are working collaboratively with Cultivate Initiatives. And so that they're working with, they're pulling in lots of resources, which I think is great.
Nice.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Yeah, and then I'm just gonna hand this out and give one little blurb from, there we go, for the Portland street response that we all know started here in Lent. Next month, it will expand citywide. This is a dashboard. Anybody can go to Tableau TABLEAU. But anybody can go there and look at this anytime and get these stats. It's a great resource. And then from Commissioner Hardesty's office, it just says the program will start expanding citywide 24/7. So not those, off hours, 24/7 in July with resources from the adopted budget. And the program will start the hiring process in July also. So they will expand, they'll hire more people all next month. And then this dashboard is updated once a week. So it's like, go in and check it. I check it on Tuesdays because that's when we have council meetings at church.
So this is if somebody calls 911 or they have their own special number.
I don't believe they have a special number, but next month, also there will be that, is it 933? And I should know that because my dad has a friend who is going to be in charge of it. I believe it's 933. Will also be a number people can call if they are feeling suicidal, feeling like they maybe need somebody, but they don't want to call 911.
Any kind of mental health crisis,
Right.
basically, they can reach out and it will
be Portland City Response instead of police or fire.
Wonderful.
Yeah, because that's all I really have.
That's a great update. Wonderful. Does anybody have any questions on the Portland Street response for Jasmine?
I just, on the village, do we know how many people, approximately how many people will be able to support?
I can go and answer, but they told me to talk again. I have a lot of development.
Okay, do you want to lend to the floor?
Yes, if you would like to answer that.
So what happened is while LNA was on pause, there have been a lot of stakeholder meetings. So the only stakeholders, unfortunately, who were attending while LNA was on pause was Lens Neighborhood Livability Association and Lens Strong Housing Team, and then EPAP, East Portland Action Plan, East Portland Community Office, and some of the city agencies. So I'm with Lens Strong Housing Team. So just to update people on the Safe Rest Villages, it's $36 million in American Rescue Plan Act funding. So it's about $9 million per village. It's for very temporary, like Jasmine said, it's about a 3-year program. Concerns are rising from the community, and we've done a lot of outreach. LNA and Lens Strong and some of us, Sisters of the Road, has also been working on this because it's a very short term with a lot of money going into it. And what happens after? They claim that it'll be a transitional period so that all these houses, people will be able to be transitioned hopefully into housing within a 6 to 9 month period, which would be really, really good if that is the case. Right now, a big issue for those of you who haven't been in Lens very long is it's being built on a toxic waste dump. It was an illegal toxic waste dump. They're still waiting on the Bureau of Environmental Services remediation report. We've been asking for that for the last 4 months, at least. We're still waiting. The other issue that's coming up is it's in a flood risk area, and that's a little bit of a concern for obvious reasons. The issue that's coming up with the Bureau of Environmental Services report is what's okay for those of us who are blessed with good health and are not medically fragile might be more toxic and more dangerous for those people who are vulnerable from being houseless, being drug addicted, having diabetes, and all these other stuff. So these are some of the issues that are coming up with this particular Safe Rest Village at Reedway. Other issue that comes up is according to a street roots analysis, if you're really going to put in a humane Safe Rest Village, and this is from Houseless Advocates, you need to be near a MAX station. You need to be near a bus stop that has late night service and or frequent service. So think about that area. We're talking 106 and Reedway. You need to be near a grocery store, not a convenience store, that accepts SNAP. You need to be near a hospital that accepts OHP. You need to be near a park or recreational area so you can decompress. And you need to be near a library for tech access. Those of us who live in Lens and use the libraries know that both Holgate and Mill Park, Midland, are both going to be remodeled the next month. So even Street Roots has looked at this particular Safe Rest Village site and said this is not really optimal Another issue
Sure.
it's gonna be.
I just have to say that the
Yeah.
question was how many people are
Okay, yeah,
gonna be
I'm
able to
go
stay
on.
there.
I think you're probably somewhat interested. It's 30 to 60.
Well, actually,
It's 30, well, since I think might as well go on because Amy is not gonna be here. So
But
it's
you've
30
you've spoken
Okay,
for
it's
more
30.
than 2 minutes,
But there's
and
hardly anybody here. Do you know?
If it-
Well,
it's
we
30 to
just-
60
we-
people.
I could have
I'm
said
sorry,
a
I'm
lot of
doing a
those
bad
things
job.
too.
I'm
It's
supposed to
okay.
be the kind of timekeeper.
Okay,
I'm
it's
not doing a
30
good
to
job.
60.
So I'm gonna start right now. I'm gonna
Thank you.
start right now.
Okay,
So 2 more minutes.
Okay, I can, okay.
2
So
minutes.
30 to 60 people, yeah, it was a lot of work that went into this, okay, that we did on your behalf. So 30 to 60 people can be there. Low barrier means you can bring your spouse, you can bring your dog. However, the referrals are coming from Portland Street Response, which only deals with seriously mentally ill people in danger of harming themselves or others. Portland Police, which tends to only address criminal issues, and then the navigation centers. There are no sidewalks in that area for mobility devices. The other issue that's coming up with the neighbors, because you all are going to have a neighborhood agreement meeting with
Yes.
the neighbors. You can't
Yeah.
just go and say, we as a board think this is fine and dandy. The other issue that's coming up is in that particular neighborhood, it's a neighborhood stabilization program. So a lot of money went in to help stabilize the neighborhood. This is a low income neighborhood with distressed homes and floodplain. And now what's going to happen is they're putting in money to possibly destabilize the neighborhood. Because a lot of that area is going to be in danger of foreclosure when the moratoria end, and paying high property taxes, paying flood insurance, and then living 3 blocks from a house and shelter will actually be a problem. But I'm just letting you know, because we did a lot of work on this on LNA's behalf, and it really would be nice for LNA to acknowledge Lentz Neighborhood Livability Association and Lentz Strong Housing Team for having attended 4 months worth of meetings by ourselves.
Can I ask you a quick
Yeah,
question?
sure.
So was that your group's initiative? Because I didn't see anything about that being an LNA initiative.
The
When you
LNA
say on our behalf, because we're new, right? So this
Okay,
isn't
what
like
happens
our
is-
initiative.
Okay, the initiative is, that the invite came out when the board was on pause. And
Time's
the
up.
interim.
Okay, that's fine. Okay,
No,
so we'll
this is
go
a
on.
general meeting, and I think there's people maybe on the, website who might want to hear this too, or on Zoom meeting.
Okay.
We have a 30-minute, presentation that's been canceled.
Well, we also have another speaker that's here, and so we want to make sure that
Okay,
we
if
have
wanna go
time
back
for
later,
them.
I can go back.
Okay, so we will keep it moving in the interest of time. Okay, so we had all of our update community happenings from our board members and from guests. And so, hello. This is our next guest speaker, Danny. Danny, we want to give you a chair. Come on over. And so, sorry, we don't have more deskage. But we will rock and roll. Yeah, I guess we can scoot down a little bit if you'd like.
Oh, no, don't worry about it, thank you.
Okay, so we want to welcome Danny from the Office of Community Involvement. Danny has volunteered to be one of our guest speakers at our first LNA. We'll just quickly introduce ourselves to Danny so Danny knows who we're talking to. So I'm Jessica and I'm the chair. We chatted a little bit in the emails.
I'm Joanna. I'm the vice chair. Nice to meet you.
I'm Bradley, I'm the transportation chair.
And I'm Ken Heating, I'm treasurer.
And I'm Jasmine. I'm the public safety chair.
Sweet. So I'll let you have the floor.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for inviting me. So I'm Danny Bernstein. I'm the director for Multnomah County's Office of Community Involvement. And I'd first reached out to Jessica about an opportunity on some county boards and committees. And when she invited me to come speak, I thought it could be an opportunity both to, I think, just start with like a basic, just make sure there's a basic kind of background on county programs and services, and also talk about kind of a few ways that community members can get involved right now. Broadly speaking, my office is kind of responsible for helping community members connect with opportunities to provide input into county decision-making, and especially opportunities serving on boards and committees. So just kind of my broad overview of Multnomah County. So folks probably know that Portland is part of Multnomah County, also includes 5 other small cities in our area: Fairview, Troutdale, Gresham, Maywood Park, I always miss one, Wood Village. And then the county actually extends all the way out into the Columbia River Gorge, so it includes really urban areas as well as pretty rural areas of the county. We have a 5-member board of commissioners, 4 folks who are elected to nonpartisan offices, 4 different districts. I imagine all folks are aware that Jessica Baker-Peterson is your county commissioner, and then we have a chair that's elected countywide. We also have 3 other elected officials at the county. So we have an elected county auditor, who's currently Jennifer McGuirk, who does performance audits of county programs and services. We have an elected county sheriff, who will be new next year, Sheriff O'Donnell. And then we also have an elected district attorney, Mike Schmidt. And just in terms of like general kind of services, I started working at the county 5 years ago, and I probably couldn't have really told you a whole lot about like what's the difference between the county and the city and metro. And it's not a hard and fast rule, but generally speaking, the county provides more of our kind of social services and our social safety net, whereas the cities provide more infrastructure. And so kind of some of the sort of the big buckets of the county's work. So there's everything under kind of health and human services. So the county has health and dental clinics, offers like services for seniors with disabilities, mental health and addiction services. The county is also our public health authority. So obviously everything around our COVID response has heavily relied on the county's public health work. There's also some other kind of community facing services. The library system is part of Multnomah County. The county runs elections, animal services, and then also land use and transportation, which is especially relevant for folks kind of in unincorporated Multnomah County. And then, of course, the joint office of homeless services is shared between Multnomah County and the city of Portland. And then there's kind of the public safety bucket of the county's work. So our sheriff's office oversees jails and also provides police services for some of the smaller cities. We've got criminal prosecution for our district attorney, and then we also have a department that handles parole, probation, and juvenile detention. So that's kind of a quick summary of sort of what's in the county's work. In terms of structure, so our board of commissioners sort of a little different from the city in that the chair really serves as like our chief executive officer. So she's the one who's directly overseeing all of our departments. And the other 4 commissioners really just serve in a legislative role. So it's a bit kind of different from the current city structure. And then, mainly what I wanted to come and talk to you all about was just opportunities to get involved in the county, because that's really my office's role. So, I think anybody who's looking for an opportunity to just learn more deeply about how government works, how decisions are made, how taxpayer dollars are spent, I think advisory boards and committees can be a valuable way to do that. And obviously the city of Portland has a lot of those opportunities too, but I think especially for folks who, like if you are someone who's more interested in kind of the social services and public health and some of those elements of public safety that the county handles, it can be a good way to get involved. The kind of 2 opportunities that I wanted to highlight for you all tonight. So one is each county department has a budget advisory committee. So it's a group of 7 community members who essentially provide feedback on the county's, on the kind of that department's budget as they're working their way through the budgeting process for the next year. And so they meet generally once a month with the department leadership, get to learn about the department services and kind of hear about sort of the decisions they're weighing and crafting their budget for the next year. If there's new funding, what's the best place to invest it? If there's cuts to be made, what are the places to make those cuts to have the lessen the impact on the folks who are most vulnerable. And at the end of each year, the committees make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners as they're kind of making their final decisions on the budget. So, I know maybe not everyone jumps up and down at the idea of reviewing budgets, but really, as our chair always likes to say, our budget is really a policy document. It's really where we outline our priorities and really decide how we're kind of putting our values into action. And these committees are not going like line by the budget. It's not about like spreadsheets and looking at numbers. It's really more engaging in discussion with departments about again, kind of what are their priorities and where are they really thinking about making new investments and where do they need to reallocate resources. And so we have openings across all of the, almost all of the budget advisory committees for next year across different departments. So there's 9 in total. The Joint Office of Homeless Services is actually newly establishing a committee because they just kind of became a separate department at the county. So they're looking to establish a new budget advisory committee with 7 new members. So there's kind of a unique opportunity there to get involved with the joint office in particular. The other thing I wanted to make sure folks were aware of is that I think folks are probably familiar with the city is going through its charter review process right now. And their charter review commission is developing some proposals for the November ballot. The county is also going through a charter review process right now. Our committee has been meeting since last September and is on a bit of a shorter timeline. They wrap up next month actually, so their process is only about a year long. And so, you know, similar to the city, our county charter is kind of like our local constitution. So it outlines the scope of powers of the county, you know, the responsibilities of our elected officials, rules for elections, so kind of the core structural issues and foundations of the county. And so our committee this year, we've got the 15-member committee of county residents, and they've kind of got 3 major areas they've been focusing on. So government accountability, safety and justice, and equitable representation. And they've been, for most of the past 6 months, been kind of working in subcommittees to develop some proposed amendments to the charter based on those areas. And now in these kind of last few meetings of this committee, the committee is kind of looking at the proposed amendments from subcommittees and deciding what's actually going to go before the voters in November. And so the topics that they're currently considering, so in kind of the bucket of government accountability, there's a proposed amendment to make charter, all the language in county charter gender neutral. There's a couple proposals kind of relevant to our auditor's office. So the county doesn't currently have an ombudsperson, so someone to help kind of investigate the administrative acts of county departments and offices and operations. So that talking about establishing an ombudsperson for the county. The county has, under the auditor's office already, kind of a good government hotline, which is a place that both county employees and the public can report potential fraud or waste or abuse of county resources. And so there's a proposal to actually enshrine that hotline into county charter. There's a proposed amendment that would explicitly guarantee that the auditor has timely access to information for the work that she does to audit county programs. And also a potential amendment around just extending the county's charter review process by 6 months and making some changes to how members are selected for the committee. Under equitable representation, there's a proposed amendment to require the county to expand voting rights to the full extent of the law and potentially including non-citizens, and also a potential requirement that the county conduct elections via ranked choice voting by 2026. And the last proposal around safety and justice is increasing the number of times that the commissioners are required to visit and inspect the county jails, and that they do so accompanied by constituents. So that's a lot, but I wanted to make sure folks knew kind of what, you know, what's in the air for our charter review committee. So again, all those things you just heard me read out, they may not go to the November ballot. Again, the committee is kind of deciding right now what is going to advance to the ballot. But if you are registered to vote in Multnomah County, you know, whatever they do forward to the ballot, you'll get a chance to vote on in November. And if you do want to provide input as the committee is kind of making these final decisions about what does go to the ballot, they have 2 meetings left. So they actually just had a meeting tonight, which is where I came from. And the last 2 meetings are going to be next week on July 5th, and then a couple weeks later on July 20th. And so the committee does have some opportunity for verbal testimony at those meetings. Their time will be pretty limited because they need to get through deciding on all these topics. So written comment is also a good way to go. So if there's a particular issue in there that you really have strong feelings about and want to engage with the committee on before stuff goes to the ballot, now's a good opportunity. So yeah, so that's mostly just what I want to talk about. I've got some kind of packets together that kind of provide some basic summary again of county services and go over the opportunities I just talked about. And, you know, in terms of kind of keeping up to date on this and similar opportunities. Our office always tries to keep our website and social media up to date with openings on boards and committees, or if commissioners are doing town halls or listening sessions, or there's a survey about county services. So we try and kind of be a one-stop shop for those sorts of opportunities. So all that information is in the packets that I'll hand out to folks, but happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll open the floor to Q&A at this time. Do we have any questions on the Zoom?
Yeah, Shar would like to know if we have a local parole officer assigned to our area.
That's a good question. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. What's the best way, Jessica, if I get an answer to a question, can I follow up with you? Okay. The question is there a local parole officer assigned for your area?
Yes.
Okay, I will.
Do we have any other questions? I have a quick question. So particularly as it pertains to the homelessness and mental health services, how do we get in touch with our county reps to coordinate services and outreach?
Yeah, so the first page of the packet actually does have the contact information for all the commissioners. So your commissioner,
We're District 3.
Yeah, is definitely a good place to start.
Okay.
And then, the other avenue might be I think the commissioner is probably a good place to start. I can also see if there's a good contact in the Joint Office of Homeless Services for coordinating with neighborhood outreach.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
I think that would be super helpful because other than the Safe Rest Villages, we don't have a ton of, and also some churches and some local organizations, small grassroots organizations that do provide like meals in Lentz Park and things like that. We don't have a ton of resources in Lentz, and it's really unfortunate because our homeless population and our population that could benefit from some mental health services is astounding comparatively to other neighborhoods. It's astronomical.
Yes.
It's great, and I go all over different neighborhoods and I see, and it's big here, and we don't have a lot of services, and we don't have a lot of places that people can go to seek services or help with those issues. And so I'm just curious about coordinating how we would get involved with that, because I would like to get involved with what you were saying as far as the committees. I'm not sure if there's an existing committee, I guess is my question, that pertains to our area in conjunction with mental health services, homelessness services. Is there a committee or a group in District 3 that are involved in that?
Yeah, all the committees function like pretty county-wide and tend to try and have kind of representation from all across the county. So they tend not to be like super neighborhood or regional focused. I do know the Joint Office they've been kind of restructuring their advisory boards and committees and just launched a couple of new committees as well. I think they just recently closed the application process for those, but I can send kind of some information to see if either of those seem like also, even if you're not a member of the committee, sort of a good place to provide comment or to attend and gain some information about engaging with those services like on a more neighborhood level.
And do they all work at one Multnomah County office, or is there separate offices for each district? Like District 3 has a Multnomah County office and District 2 has a Multnomah County office, or is it just like one office? I'm not familiar.
Like in terms of each department, like
yeah,
each department functions on a pretty county-wide level. Like all of the, unlike your state legislators, all of the commissioners, like all of their like physical offices are in the Multnomah building at Southeast Grand and Hawthorne. So they don't have kind of, they do their outreach more like through events and whatnot, but they don't have a like physical space in. And all of the sort of county facilities around, they provide kind of like general services. But yeah, it's not kind of a more sort of localized model. It's very countywide.
okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you say that they come to events and things, what kind of events? Like if we had a community event, would they come?
Yeah,
Commissioners?
I would definitely, like, if you have an event and you're interested in having, Commissioner Vega Peterson would definitely reach out to her office. I mean, they do, I know, a lot of them do attend neighborhood association meetings, if there's like community festivals, cultural festivals. They definitely do, try and show up in community, so, yeah.
Something that I'm working on is trying to plan more community events for them.
And, Chair, I do need to step out at this point.
Okay, awesome. Just for the record, Bradley does need to go, so, we'll just put that on the notes. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, and then, am I correct in presuming that their terms are 2 years?
4 years.
Okay, 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, and they were just elected the last election cycle.
Yeah,
So there'll be 4 years.
Commissioner Vega Peterson and Commissioner Myron are both running for county chair.
She is running for county chair.
And
Vega
so,
Peterson.
yeah, so we'll have a new county chair in January, and so either Vega Peterson or Myron's seat, depending on which of them wins, will need to be filled.
Oh, so you can't do both positions. Oh, okay, so if she gets elected to county chair, she won't be the commissioner for District 3 anymore. Got it, okay.
So I have a question. At the county level, I'm wondering, and doing community involvement, I'm wondering how much work you are willing to do with this Levin Land group.
The
That
what
you
group?
have probably heard of, Levin Land.
I don't know that.
Yeah,
You know that?
Oh, wow, okay, so Levin Land is this group who started down in North Portland, and they have expanded, and that was a groundbreaking. I was out on Sunday to build affordable housing. That one specifically was for LGBTQ seniors, but Levin Land started as a group who said, how can faith communities solve this housing crisis? Because we are sitting in these rooms and trying to figure out how the county and the city can spend this money instead of on temporary housing on wasteland, right? Like being frustrated like you, I feel this, right? And so I'm just wondering, like, has there been any discussion at the county level in community engagement with partnering with groups like that who are making those changes happen and saying, like, they're doing that, and like, can we put money there?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the work that the county does is through, like, actually through funding community partners rather than being a direct service provider itself. So some, for example, like affordable county housing projects or organizations that provide services around affordable housing are funded by the county. I think in terms of that specific group, I think that's probably not a question that I can answer, but it's more about, like, are the commissioners aware and have they been in touch with groups like that? Are those groups connected to our county departments that are providing relevant services? So if you want to, everybody who grabbed a packet has my business card. So if you do want to follow up with like a more specific question and want to see if there's an avenue for a particular connection for an organization, we can probably chat more about it offline.
Awesome, and we will also share your contact information with those that are with us on Zoom. So if you guys have more questions, as far as the people just on Zoom, you can reach out to Danny directly. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Ken.
I have a question regarding jurisdiction between the city of Portland and the county. Since the city of Portland is in the county of Multnomah, can Multnomah County come in and provide services in Portland, even though Portland City doesn't provide them or doesn't want to provide them? What I'm trying to get at is because of the mental health issue we have locally here, can the county come in and just set up some local offices for help and set up a question or something similar to Portland street response. Because the problem here is if there's an issue, Portland street response is great, but everything gets channeled through the 911, and it takes forever to answer an emergency call. And a lot of times, some people who are having a mental breakdown or something are at risk to themselves as well as to the general public, i.e. going out in front of traffic and stuff like that. And we're not getting much help from the city. The city says we're overloaded, et cetera, et cetera. Can the county, does the county have numbers to call where they can come in and step in for mental health issues like this? Or is something set up like that?
So, yeah, in terms of the county's jurisdiction, I mean, I think the city and the county do have kind of distinct sort of roles, right? So the county, like doesn't do emergency response, right? Unless it's, again, the sheriff's office does serve as like the police responder in the smaller communities that don't have their own police force. The county does have, or kind of partners with 211, which is not emergency response, but it is right access to resources. So I think generally speaking that, I mean, I think it depends on what service we're talking about. I think what you're talking about, that like emergency and crisis response, I think it sort of depends on what it looks like. But so, for example, the county is establishing a new behavioral resource center downtown that's kind of specifically to build some resource around for folks in mental health crisis. And I think many of the big projects like that do happen in partnership or with knowledge of the city, right? And because the city and the county provide some distinct resources, I think there is also a desire to coordinate. I think with any issue you're facing, I think reaching out to your county commissioner is always an avenue. And they may be able to do something about it, and they may say that that's really a responsibility of the city of Portland. Because the county is a separate jurisdiction, but also has its own sphere of work, and so it won't necessarily, it can't necessarily, like the county can't. I mean, this is a trivial example compared to what you're talking about, but just because the pothole outside is not getting fixed and the city's not doing it doesn't mean the county's going to come and do it, because that's not their work, right? So I think it kind of depends on what service you're talking about.
I was just gonna piggyback off of what you were saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but that might be an opportunity for this is our treasurer. He's the money man of the group, and so might be an opportunity to get involved with what's happening with the budget committee that you were just talking about with the county, so that we can make sure we're prioritizing the right things. Because if we don't have somebody in the room to speak on behalf of Lent or to speak on behalf of whatever community that you're from, then they're not going to prioritize our interests because there's nobody to represent our interests. And so I think it was the budget committee that you said where that goes to say how Multnomah County spends the money. And then as I understand it, and like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm kind of just reiterating what you said, but the county isn't always directly providing those services. They're providing funds for organizations that provide the services. Is that like a correct understanding of what you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so the county does have health clinics, and our Department of Community Services does provide some direct services for like seniors and veterans and folks with disabilities. But largely, most of the sort of the work the county does around social services is actually by funding, community partners who are doing the work. Yeah.
So if we had somebody that would be in the room to say, we want the funding to go towards this, or like you said, not line by line scrutinizing their budget, but to just say, we would like these interests represented going forward, that might be advantageous to us as an organization to do so. Okay, cool. Awesome. Does anybody, our guests, have any questions for Danny? Any county questions? questions about services, committees. So the two are the budget, the main ones are the budget, I wrote this down, budget, advisory committee, the charter review process.
Yeah.
And,
Those are really the two things that are
The two
like
things.
happening right now.
okay,
But the county does have, I'd probably say about 40 different boards and committees. So like over the course of the year, they'll be recruiting for new members. So I think there's always opportunity. Those are just the two that, I either are accepting applications or input that I wanted to make sure to highlight. So one of the links on the last pages, and Jessica, I'll send you a digital copy of this. You can send it to folks who are on Zoom as well. There's a link to kind of the list of all the different advisory boards and committees at the county, so you can just see if there's others of interest. And again, folks are always, I know it can be like a big world to navigate and a lot of bureaucracy. So
tons of
folks are
bureaucracy.
always welcome to reach out
Yeah.
directly to me. Again,
Yeah.
sort of advisory boards and committees is my world of work, but even if it's something else and you're just like trying to figure out what the entry point is, I will do my best to help point you to the right person and in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you came today, and I'm so glad that you've spoken. You kind of explained some of these levels of bureaucracy, because I've even found that just being the chair of the LNA, I get calls like, there's a chop shop on my block. And I'm like, what do you want me to do about that? Like, if you don't call non-emergency, how did you get my phone number? Like, what am I supposed to do about that? And so I don't think a lot of the time, because it's not necessarily taught in public schools, right? It's not common knowledge, like what person you need to direct that comment or that question at. And so a lot of the times we're just going to the first person that comes to mind, or the first person that's readily available. And that's not necessarily the person who's going to be able to answer that question. Even you just being like the Office of Community Involvement, you're here to act as a liaison, but that doesn't mean you know what's going on with the sheriff's department or the probation department or anything like that. You don't see every department, oversee every department. You're just the community liaison between the county and, if I'm understanding this correctly, I could be totally wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong, but just to like be that person to get people involved in what's happening at the county, not to necessarily know every single department at the county.
Yeah, I'd say that's right. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, so just trying to make sure I have an understanding.
Not the holder of all knowledge county, but
Yeah, I totally get that. And so, I can't speak enough to educating ourselves on the bureaucracy that is the city of Portland and the county of Multnomah. Okay, do we have any other questions for Danny? Thank you for coming. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, we will go on to our next item on the agenda. Did we lose Josie? She had to get out of here. Oh, okay. No worries. Just for the record, Josie has. She didn't want to be on it. She didn't have anything to say.
Maybe that's what she was.
No, she didn't have anything to add.
Okay.
If she did, she could have. I didn't mind.
Oh, yeah.
I have no objections whatsoever to that. Okay, so, yes, wonderful. We are moving right along to Amy Hamden, the district manager of the Lentz Business Association, wanted to make a brief announcement. Unfortunately, she caught COVID, so we will go ahead and just relay the message from Amy Hamden. I wanted to congratulate all the new LNA board members, woohoo, and make sure they are all receiving my monthly e-newsletter. If not, they can email me and I'll get them on the list. Also, I wanted to extend an invitation to our Dog Days of Summer free hot dog lunch on July 15th from 11 to 1 p.m. in the Lentz Commons Courtyard by Lighthouse Yoga. Everyone is welcome. Meet our board, fellow business owners, and have some good food and good conversation. I've attached the flyer I was going to bring. Once again, I'm sorry I wasn't able to make it. I look forward to meeting you all soon. Amy Hamden. Her email is Amy, AMY, at ventureportland.org. That's AMY at VENTUREPORTLAND.org. And once again, Lentz Grown Business Association's event, Dog Days of Summer, is July 15th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Lentz Common Courtyard next to Lighthouse Yoga. Free food. So come get involved, everybody. Join us for a lunch date. Grilling up some good dogs. Okay, and then also she wanted to add the cultural fair, Lentz Grown Business Association Cultural Fair is Sunday, September 4th, Labor Day weekend. If LNA wants to be involved, we'd love your participation. Mark your calendars. So that is going to Ken's earlier, piggybacking off his earlier point about partnering up with Lentz Grown. I think they would love to have us as an organization. So let's see how we can build that relationship up and that spirit of camaraderie and get involved in the cultural fair going down on September 4th, Labor Day weekend. Also, feel free, I will post the, myself or Jasmine, I'll send it to you too right now, the flyer for the Dog Days of Summer event. So feel free to share that with your neighbors or your business or anybody in the community that might want to attend, network, and get some free food. So that is the announcement from the Lentz Grown Business Association. Woohoo! Okay, so moving right along. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a
Just checking in.
question about future gatherings that we might want to have.
Oh, perfect, because the next item on the agenda was the July tentative agenda and topics.
Okay.
So you're right on point. Awesome. Okay, go for it.
There is the Office of Civic Life is helping neighbors host parties, celebrations in Portland between the dates of August 1st and August 14th. And we can register for that and it's free. But then I'm wondering, I just want to know, I mean, if we do that, then this probably would be something we would want to consider more offline, but it's an option to do that if we have the funding for it.
I would say that we can do it with or without the funding because I don't know that we have money. Like Ken was saying, we might only have a grand, if that.
Yeah.
I think sponsorships would be a good option. Piggybacking off what Amy was saying, trying to reach out to some of the local businesses and see if they're willing to donate some resources to us. Also, I wanted to also piggyback off of the $5,000 grant that is available. Where did I put that at? The $5,000 grant that is available, from Metro Refresh. Do we know if the application is open for that right now?
The only reason why I'm bringing this up
I think it's a great idea.
right now is
Yeah.
because the only reason.
Yeah, because I didn't see a date here.
That's great, because the only reason why I'm bringing this up is if we want to do something like this, we got to register, the deadline to register is in like 3 days.
I think it would be a great
Civic
idea
For
To-
like a neighborhood.
to get a
party.
neighborhood party.
Civic life one.
Yeah, the civic life one. I think it's a good idea. We need the camaraderie. We need to build awareness that LNA is back in action. We need to let people know that we actually have an LNA. So I think that as you see, Lentz Grown's putting on events, all of the other community organizations are doing things. we absolutely need to do something. So I think it's a great idea, Joanna. I appreciate that you bringing that to the table. I don't see any objections or reasons why not. As far as where, I think Lentz Park is obviously the easiest choice. And so it would just be a matter of doing some event coordinating, which was my job in a previous life before real estate. So I think that would be good. I would be happy to help with that. The reason why I asked about the $5,000 solve cleanup grant is because we might want to consider getting that grant going soon so that we could try to clean up before the party. And so if we're gonna do like, or even after, like some point between, like maybe 2 weeks before and then 1 week after, so we have trucks available, you know, for garbage. We're not just relying on the city of Portland to come clean up the park after a big party, because a lot of the times the garbages are overflowing and it just creates like more mess than it does good. And so I think that, you know, applying for that grant and then as like a celebratory thing, having that party, like we clean up for a couple weeks and then we do the party. And then afterwards we clean up a little bit more. I also wanted to propose the idea of collaborating with our local Portland youth builders to see if we could use some of that grant money to give the Portland youth builders low wage jobs, minimum wage jobs, and have them do some cleanup stuff. So that way we're giving jobs to the kids for the summer. We're providing, you know, short-term intermittent kind of situation where it's maybe a 3 to 6 week employment opportunity. We have somebody on site either from Portland Youth Builders or from LNA to supervise and document the hours. But we're using that $5,000 for a budgetary thing, which would be like, one, the wages for the youth, because then they have like a sense of pride about themselves. They're not just, you know, it's not like a vandalism or graffiti or just hanging out in the park, nothing to do. You know, there's not a lot of constructive things for youth to do in this neighborhood, unfortunately. So I think providing an like opportunity for employment, and we get the benefit of cleaning up our neighborhood, and we get the benefit of like a big celebratory party, I think would really bring a sense of community to Lent. And so I would love to see if we can maybe get that $5,000 grant, allocate. And this is just rough numbers. I'm not the numbers lady, so please don't crucify me here for just throwing this out there. But just to see if we could get that $5,000, maybe spend $1,000 to $2,000 on 1-800-GOT-JUNK, or like a cleanup crew place where we get all the bags and they just come pick it up and haul it away for us. But then we have the youth doing the garbage collection. And then, you know, we'll have the park cleaned up after the party. So we're not just trashing the place if we do decide to do an event and things of that nature.
Yeah, I think we'd have to flush out the grant, like what the grant guidelines are and stuff.
Grant criteria.
Yeah, the
Absolutely.
criteria, we'd have to make sure that.
Absolutely.
But we should definitely apply for it.
Yes. Okay. Does anybody have any questions, comments, objections to any of that good stuff?
Autumn has a question or has her hand raised.
Do you want to unmute her?
I put her hand down.
Hi.
Oh, go ahead.
You actually kind of just touched on what my question was about, but I've been an LNA member since like 2015, and we used to have a lot of participation. You know, meetings would have, 50 plus people, and for various reasons, even pre-pandemic, the attendance just absolutely plummeted. And so my question was going to be, what ways have you, or if you, have it on your agenda, what ways you might engage more community members to participate. And then also, in addition to that, is once you get community participation, like what methods might you use to get to hear people's opinions, for people to give input as to what direction they might want LNA to, what things they might want LNA to focus on.
I think we could do email
Um,
requests and in-person requests.
I think that's a great idea. Do you want to say that a little louder for people?
I think we could do email requests, like if you have an idea, if the community has an idea, they could send it to our email, and then also attendance at the meetings, of course. So I think we could, send an email or put notices on our Facebook page and notices everywhere, saying, hey, this is our email, please email us with ideas. And also, this is when our meetings are, and please feel free to attend. We do like to do, from what I understand and what the world is nowadays, kind of more hybrid. So I don't see Zoom going away, so we would probably still offer that plus in person. So there would be many options for people to get involved and attend meetings, as well as we could have people send emails with ideas. Do you have any suggestions, Autumn?
Well, I know that, I Love Lens is not necessarily connected to the LNA, but I didn't see a lot of chatter, should we say, about the upcoming meeting. Like, I know that's a good place to post stuff. No, I'm just curious if you all had talked about that, because, I don't know how many people are present at the meeting there, but there are 4 people on the Zoom, and I'd love to see more community participation. So I was just wondering if you all had talked about that, what you were just talking about, having a little event is great. I know that a big thing has always been the bulk pickup. That's something that's really important in our neighborhood, which I'm sure people would love to have again, the bulk cleanup day. And just curious if you all had a plan for how you might engage more people in wanting to participate.
That's a great question, Autumn. And then am I correct in presuming that you are the moderator for the I Love Lens page? Or an admin?
No, I am not.
Oh, okay. So, okay. No worries. I think that's great feedback and great questions. Hopefully we were able to answer those questions a little bit better. I also think it would be advantageous for us to have either biannual events or quarterly events that we do in the community. So maybe it's a harvest party when we collaborate with Zinger Farms. Maybe it's a summer event at Lentz Park. Maybe it's a winter event at the Boys and Girls Club. I definitely think we should be doing quarterly events for sure. And then we had another question from a guest.
Well, actually, it was more about the agreement of reaching out. I wouldn't have no idea this was happening unless you have said something at that.
At work. She works with me. We work at the same office.
So I would have had zero idea.
I was like, you gotta come. She's like, I'm your neighbor. I was like, oh, okay.
But is there a website, just where the dates and calendar stuff, so people can just go to a place and find out and have the links?
That's a
right
great
there?
question. Yeah. So Jasmine and
I'm
I.
not doing Facebook anymore, so that's
Yeah.
not a good outreach
Yeah,
for me
yeah.
anymore. So I'm like,
So we are just ironing out some kinks. I will say we have had a recent resignation, so we will have to redelegate some tasks amongst the board. But I think the 2 places predominantly will be our website. So you can always go there first and foremost. Like, anybody who doesn't do Facebook don't need to go there. Go to the website. So first and foremost, Lentz neighbor, what is it? What is the URL?
And Thomas just posted that he had some issues with being approved into the I Love Lentz Facebook page. and so he couldn't get it posted onto there, and now I can't click back. There it is.
Oh, okay.
LintzNeighborhoodAssociation.com.
Yes, so please go to linksneighborhoodassociation.com. First and foremost, that's where we post our meetings, time, date, location, all of that good stuff. As we plan more events and we get those on the schedule, we'll have those posted there. Probably gonna dial in our website a little bit more too, because it looks pretty antiquated.
It's terrible.
It's
No offense, Thomas. I know it's looked like that since before you. It's just a terrible website. Autumn West would like to know if the Lentz Fair is happening this year. Does anybody in this room know who does the Lentz Fair?
Last person I know who did it was Robert Schultz.
All right.
Prior to that, it was handled by volunteers from the Lentz Neighborhood Association.
That's what I thought.
And then what happened was Robert Schultz took it over, and now that he has that name, and he ran the fair, I believe it was for 2 years. So it's taken out of Lentz Neighborhood Association hands at this point, as far as I know.
Okay, so she would like to know, if not, will the money paid out 2 years ago be returned to LNA budget for some other event? And honestly, like, what could it have been, like $100 or something? Like, who paid? Hold on. If somebody on an LNA board paid $2,000 to be part of a fair, that was just bad money management anyway. I just
My
have to say that
understanding
part out
is
loud.
that it went to Robert Schultz.
Yeah, so like
So contact Robert Schultz and he might be able to give you some more insight on that. Great question.
we're never spending $2,000 to do a
We,
fair.
if we do our events, we'll be looking for sponsorship and grant opportunities and things of that nature. Okay, and then there was one, oh, go ahead. Thank you for coming too.
Oh, yeah, as far as just reaching people, awareness for events and meetings, what is the email?
Oh, sorry, I forgot a MailChimp. We have MailChimp. If you guys send us your, or sign in with your email address, our secretary had sent out a MailChimp invite to everybody. We had, I believe, over, what is it, 2,000 people on our MailChimp?
I think what he's asking for is so he can send us an email.
Oh, so we, no, we send you an email.
Yeah.
We will send you an email that lets you know about the upcoming events, meetings, general board, any other extracurricular things that we're doing. It's called MailChimp and we do have that. We did send it out for this meeting today.
I mean, I saw it for this meeting, I was just kind of answering.
Oh, so you got the MailChimp?
I got an email.
Oh, perfect.
But it's response to Autumn. I mean, there should be a very long email list from previous.
Exactly.
There
yeah,
is,
yeah.
there is. And all of those email addresses are still in there.
Right. So
Yeah.
Autumn and whoever else asked the question, I'm not exactly sure who asked that, but to your earlier question, that was a great point. Totally spaced that, but yes, we do have the MailChimp. So if you haven't sent us your email, please do, and we will add you to our mailing list. And our mailing list lets people know about a day, a time, a location. So really, there's multiple ways, if you don't do Facebook, that you can find out about the meeting. It's not a secret meeting. It's not a secret society, I promise. Get on our mailing list, go to our website. You'll find the time, you'll find the day, you'll find the location. We also do Facebook though, for those that do. So
So maybe we would want to post on Lentz.
Island Lentz is a separate people. We don't know if the admin will allow that or if they won't, but if they do, then yes. Okay, that's wonderful. Does anybody have any other questions, comments, feedback for the board, for the community or otherwise?
I think one thing that we should just also hammer out, and only because in my work dealings and in my mostly is work dealings, right? The LNLA that you brought up earlier happened, and I don't know when it happened. I wasn't here when it happened, but it was a hot mess that happened because of the LNA, right? And we somehow need to figure out how we are going to make sure and ensure that the LNA is not confused with the LNLA, right? Because they're two separate entities. And I don't know what happened, and I don't know why it happened, and I don't know what the problem is. But I just know that I have been asked to clarify multiple times in the last month, and I think that is really odd to me. So I just want to make sure that we know that that's a thing apparently that I didn't know about. Yes.
If you guys would like to sit down for about 20 minutes to a half an hour, I can brief you on that history if you want to hear it. If you don't want to hear it, you don't have to. But if you want to hear it, I can tell you what went on at that time and why LNA is this way and why LNA is that way.
Can I quickly piggyback off that to summarize? We're two separate entities. Let's clarify that distinct difference. We're two separate entities. That's what matters. I think that we do convey that to the public and that we do let people know they are not us, we are not them. There's a separate organization. We are the official neighborhood association, the LNA. The Lentz Livability Neighborhood Association is a committee that sprung off from the LNA. They are not the LNA. They're separate entities.
I'd like to set that straight.
Can we do it in less than 30 minutes?
They were not a committee that branched off from the LNA. LNA had a committee, which was Lentz Livability Committee. And what happened was they decided to form a name very similar to that to create confusion in the community as to who was representing what. And that's a tactic that's used quite often. And, there's a lot of outcomes that happen because of that, and there was a lot going on. If you have 20 minutes to a half an hour, I'll be glad to talk to you all in private about it and what went on.
That sounds awesome. I think it's good for us to know
My whole thing is.
later on down the road, or later on down the road.
But this is
My
the
whole-
official one that's recognized.
This
This
is
is
the
recognized by the
recognized by the city.
Yes.
My whole thing is, we all live in the same community and we can all work together.
I agree.
And
Wait, hold on a second. I'm confused because LNA and LA isn't ran by somebody who lives in Lynch. So how do we all live in the same community?
there are people
That attend, are you saying that?
No.
They used to own a business.
I didn't say anything like that, Jessica.
I think we need to have this conversation at another time.
For sure, we're 8 minutes over.
Okay, yep, so we'll move on
I think we should just move on.
and then, we will go ahead and I don't think we have, I agree.
Oh, no, I don't want to.
So one of the things that we didn't get to on the agenda because of the lack of attendance and the recent resignations is the Lentz Monument Lights / PGE vote. We want to get the PGE disconnected from what I'm hearing from some of the board members. The PGE, for those that aren't aware, is basically an account that's in the LNA name that we pay for every month out of our Lentz Neighborhood Association budget to light up the Lentz monuments. Can you tell people where the Lentz monuments are located and which lights are on and which lights are not, so for the record?
There's two monuments. The larger of them is over here on the west end of the town center. It's on Foster and just by the body shop there, it makes the triangle. And then on the east end, down by the 7-Eleven on Foster, and I believe it's 100, is the other Lex Monument. The smaller one's lit, the larger one isn't. And from what I understand from Mary Oxford, that there was an auto accident there.
So one light is on or both?
It disabled the west monument. So what happens is the west monument is a blank now. It doesn't light up in the evening, but the east monument does. And we've been paying for it, and you know, it's been talked about for years. Who should be paying for it? And what's happened was, from what I understand from looking at older board minutes, that there was, they wanted to get it disconnected, and it was unclear if there was a motion passed to have the lights disconnected. Somebody was assigned to do that, but it was never done with the previous board, not the interim board, the previous board. So it's up in limbo, so we would have to propose it, I believe, the board would have to propose it to the membership, and then it would have to be seconded.
With the quorum,
whether or not
yes.
we want to discontinue the monument, but it's right now, it's a minimum of $30 a month to light that, and right now we're very low on our budget. Well, I don't even know what it is at this point. I think it's probably somewhere around $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anything we could do to save money at this point would be great. My opinion is, I haven't heard anybody say anything about the west monument being not lighted. If we had it disconnected, just wait and see if somebody says anything.
Yeah,
Somebody asks something, or we could put it up to a vote for the membership. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there in terms of just saving money, just to have it shut off.
This is my personal opinion. Thank you so much for that, Ken. Really appreciate your diligence with that, driving by there and everything. And this is not to reflect the board's opinion. This is my opinion. I'm torn because yes, I want to save money, but also I feel like we need everything we can get to make this neighborhood look a little better.
I agree.
Everything we can get. I mean, anything to make this place spruced up a little bit, we need it. So I'm torn because I'm like, yes, save the money. And I'm also like, we actually kind of need that thing. So I don't know, but I definitely think we should do a vote on it. Let's push that to the July agenda. So we will roll that over to the next meeting, and
What
that
if
will be
we
at the board meeting.
put it on the July agenda and everyone in this room goes to like their friends and family and bosses and says, hey, can you sponsor the lights for 1 month?
Well, no. Once it's not in
$35.
our name anymore, that's somebody else's responsibility. I mean, it would.
That's what I'm saying, like, we, instead of taking that vote, we just ask everybody to find one person to sponsor for 1 month.
Oh, like a
through the end of
private
the year.
community member?
Yeah, or the
But
7-Eleven
whose
right
name
next
would
door,
the
I don't know.
account be in?
Still
I
ours.
would, I'm not snickering at the idea, but I thought if we were to keep them lit, what we could do is get one of those marquee signs and a lighting sponsored by.
Yeah,
and-
seriously.
That's
though.
not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's not a bad idea.
And you know, a lot of places, they have their own signs, right? Their own banners, like you see
Yeah.
at the Pickle
I think
Stadium.
that's a good idea.
And you could say like, we'll put your sign up for the month or for a weekend or whatever. And like, people will pay $30 for that.
It's free advertisement. I don't see why not.
You know how many people
I
drive by
think
there?
That's actually a good idea.
So anyway,
That's a good
that's
idea.
your homework for the month. Come
Yeah,
back next month with a
we'll
name
reconvene on
and
that
$30.
matter. So yeah, that was a good idea. I'll write that down. Okay, so that'll roll over to our July tentative agenda and topics. So just so I have the July agenda, topics, I'm here to listen to board member and general public member feedback. So we can put that agenda together. If anybody has, so we've got the monument down and then possible sponsorship. And then we've got the civic life event So basically, at the next meeting, we would be approving the sponsors and the event coordinating schedule and everything if we decide to do that. Or just discussing, let's say more so. Does anybody have any feedback for the July agenda?
This card, I give that to you by email.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
I do the thing,
The what?
just the thing.
Oh, okay. Anybody else have any feedback, comments, questions, concerns before we get ready to adjourn this thing?
If the service provider is deciding for the Safe Rest Village, maybe do a Safe Rest Village presentation.
I agree.
Okay.
And then,
Can you collaborate with
we've been
our,
doing it the whole time, so yeah, we can.
well, no, you didn't hear my question.
Yeah.
My question was, can you collaborate with our public safety chair so that way you can, or our land use chair, and so that they can provide the information to the board prior?
Yeah, well, we're all going to the same stakeholder.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
she kind of did a presentation today.
Yeah.
And then if there's anything that you would like to add, I think you did a good job on presenting it today. Is there more that we need to
Can I
say?
do something though too, and I'm saying this, I'm gonna try to be tactful here. We need to be respectful of other community groups, and Lens Neighborhood Livability Association is a community group in Lens. I'm not associated with Lens Neighborhood Livability Association, everybody knows that. Lens Strong Housing Team has a similar issue, because everybody at LNA, the former board, was always trying to claim credit for our work, and we have to put a little sign that we are not associated with Lens Neighborhood Association or with Lens Neighborhood Livability Association. But we need to show respect for other community groups, whether it's PDX Saints, whether it's LNLA, whether it's Lens Strong Housing Team. And I hate to say it to y'all, but what happened was I was on the Lens LNA Elections Nominations Committee that helped get elections underway for this past elections. And what happened with that is that we were asking the interim board, and I understand completely with the interim board that, yeah, they could not go and get involved in those stakeholding meetings because they were only intern and the rest, but y'all missed out on a great stakeholding opportunity, and LNLA and poor Lens Strong Housing Team had to step up on your behalf. And we didn't ask your permission. In fact, we invited y'all. We were the ones who said to Jake Dornblaser, hey, once LNA is having their elections, and y'all, how do you think you got invited? It wasn't because Jake Dornblaser knew who you were. It's because I sent a letter and said, hey, you need to contact Jasmine Sprague Anderson, and you need to contact Mary Oxford. Otherwise, as far as they were concerned, you all had not participated. And I was the one who brought in PDX Saints and everybody else. So, you know, we do need to be acknowledged a little bit for this and not feel that we're being disrespected. Yes, Jasmine did do a good job, but LNLA and Lens Strong Housing Team did a tremendous amount of work. That what you regurgitated was basically what was on the website that has been on the website there for 3 months. The stuff about the Bureau of Environmental Services remediation report came from us. The fact that there's no sidewalks and what about the mobility devices came from us. The going out and flyering in the neighborhood came from us. And we did that on behalf of LNA while you all were on pause, and we need to be thanked for that.
Oh, okay, so I'll just say one quick thing, and this is with all due respect. I want to apologize on behalf of any board member that maybe you interpret them to not necessarily give you guys the credit for the work that you guys have done. We acknowledge that everybody here who is getting their information presented, whether it's land use, public safety, East Portland Community Office, whoever, we're not trying to take credit for your work. We're just trying to let the community know what's happening. This is not to say Jasmine's the one who's coordinated this and she's done this, and that's not what she's saying. She's just letting people know about what's happening.
Right.
We fully acknowledge that this is a project that we have nothing to do with, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that we had nothing to do with. We didn't have the responsibility. We did not take the initiative. No. Let me finish because you didn't hear my point. Okay. We came into the situation where you guys had already made so much progress on that project. That is your project, okay? That is Sisters of the Roads project. That is LNA's project. We are not trying to take your credit in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And I apologize if that seems that way, but I appreciate you sharing that, and going forward, we will make sure to clarify who's involved in what. And so that way, when we do our minutes and when we do convey this information to the community, they know exactly who's responsible for what. Awesome. Thank you. Do we have?
What y'all don't understand, and this is not directed at you personally, has to do with bureaucracy, like we've been talking about. For land use, the neighborhood contacts for the city are the neighborhood association, the district coalition, Jose, and then the business association. So yes, whether you all were not involved or not, you were sort of peripherally involved because that's who the city goes to. So if you don't want to be involved, that's fine. We can go and take over the whole thing.
You have to understand that this is literally our first general meeting because elections were 1 month ago.
Yeah.
So to try and put some responsibility on us
Oh, it's
during
fine.
a time when we did not have this position, like literally, I mean, you were part of that email thread, like your own spouse up here didn't know he was going to be the treasurer. I mean, he pretty much had buy-in, right? Like he'd known, like Jessica especially.
What are you talking about?
Jessica especially didn't know she was going to be, I mean, I had pretty much given up on the elections even happening for this board. And then all of a sudden one day I got an email that said, are you still doing this? So
She's just
which
talking
part?
about her experience. She's talking about her experience. We just became a board recently.
Like you can't
So
say
we don't have like
the-
the history and all of the stuff, and so we're not responsible for all of these things
No,
that
but-
happened in
And
the
so
past.
when
But
we
no,
when
what I'm
we
saying is
talk
that-
about things, when we give reports, and when I bring things up, and this is me personally, I'm going to talk about the things that I think that are pertinent to the last 30 days since our
Yeah.
last meeting.
Exactly.
Anything that happened before that, I'm going to provide information like what I printed offline so that other people can go back and look. And I'm going to give an opportunity for people to ask me questions, because I could have said all of that because you said all those same things in that meeting, because I know all of those things because I follow it online. But I don't think it's worth wasting everybody's time to sit here for half an hour and go hash them out, because if people care enough as much as you and I do, they'll go and they'll figure it out. But to sit here for half an hour and to have these conversations isn't doing anybody who doesn't care enough any good, because as soon as they walk out the door, they're gonna let it go.
Okay, can I ask how many people here live near Ridgeway at all?
Does that matter?
Yes, it does, because you all are going to be holding the community meetings for the neighborhood agreement.
You're right, but if they're not in this room, it doesn't matter.
No, you're gonna wind up, because you're going to be the ones hosting it. What's going,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
let me, yeah, you're gonna be the ones hosting it.
Okay.
So when you host it, you're going to have to be doing outreach.
And then we'll be over there, closer to Reedway, having a
Oh, yeah,
meeting
exactly,
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
Pam has
here.
a comment, so I'd like to give Pam the floor. Thank you.
Okay, so the point of all this, it's a newly elected board.
Yeah.
Most of the newly elected board does not know the past history. I'll be glad to update any questions anybody has. But the whole thing is, there's been a division in the community that started a while back. And we can all work together. In the meantime, since LNA had its own difficulties and stuff, other community groups have tried to fill in. And what's happened is they've done a lot of work and they need to be acknowledged, plus they need to still be worked with. So we can work, I believe we can work all together, all the community groups can get together. That's LNA, Lent's housing team, Lent's grown. We can all work together to find solutions for these things. What happened was, things happened to LNA, and I believe it was, I don't want to say any conspiracy, but I believe the city, LNA at one time was very powerful with over 250 members showing up for elections. The city did some things and caused that to fall apart and splinter because they had a town meeting where the mayor was called in along with city council members, and they listened to the whole Lentz community there. And it was really interesting to see what our neighbors had to say when they had an open mic with the mayor and the city, and they realized that it's a powerful voice, and things were done by the city to make that voice no longer powerful. And as a result, over the past years, it's splintered off. People are trying to do it, but the city only recognizes the Lentz Neighborhood Association. And it's extremely important that we work with all the other groups who have splintered off and get everybody reassociated and working together so we can make this community a good community. Right now, what's happening with Lentz, it's a dumping ground. And what the city does is it continues to dump on it the same way they tore apart Northeast Portland and the communities out there. Over here, it's diverse. There's a lot of land here and stuff. Perfect place. We can get rid of people, raise the taxes on them, and get them out because they're all low income. And that's what's happened. That's what's happened in the past years. So if everybody gets together, we can work together to save the community. If the community the way it is, it can be gentrified like it's down in Hawthorne and stuff. But you go down that area, and there's nothing there anymore. There used to be shops. There used to be artists. There used to be food carts. And all that.
There still is, but let me just say, I completely agree with you about collaborating with other
agree with you as
organizations. Also, we don't want to take the credit for the work they've already done. We can do both. We can work with them, collaborate with them, and then we can also not take the credit for the work they've done. The work you've done is the work you've done. The work they've done is the work they've done. That is fine. We can collaborate and go forward and move on and move forward. I think a lot of people here, as far as like the new board members, are of the mindset that we don't want to get into the past history. We don't want to know about the past conflicts because it's not advantageous to the things we're doing in the future. And so that's all I'm going to say on that part. And then I will
add something to
okay.
that.
Oh, okay. After that, I'll wrap it.
Einstein said something about repeating things.
Mhm.
And if things get repeated and you're repeating the same mistakes, which I see happening, it's not good. To summarize it, you need to know what the history of everything is so you know why things are the way they are, and you know how to make restorative justice for everyone in the community. But ignoring history is one of the biggest mistakes that can ever be made.
I agree that knowing history is important, but I think it should come from multiple sources.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that.
That's
Yeah.
what matters.
100%. Because if there's one common denominator who's giving the history that was also involved in a lot of the historical conflict, it's going to be biased information. I don't want to deal with that. I want to move forward and yes, know the history, know all the things that happened from everybody, and we continue to move forward. But I think even just building relationships with Portland Prosper, building relationships with Let's Grown, building relationships with, that matters more. And I don't speak for the whole board. So please don't try to go report me for a grievance again, okay? I don't speak for everybody. Let me clarify that. I only speak for myself in saying that I would like to build relationships with the existing organizations and have a new, fresh perspective on the LNA than they did in the past, because we don't have a good history, we don't have a good rapport with people in the city, and we don't even have a good rapport with people in our own neighborhood. So I would like to have fresh, new relationships with people in the community, organizations in the community, city of Portland, the county, all of that, to turn a new leaf. And so we're not just like having the cyclical thing of just keep repeating history because the same people or things are committed to doing the exact same things over and over. We have to turn it over and get some fresh perspectives and people and thoughts and do different things. And so
I am
Good
good
thing.
about partnering with organizations.
that's how we're going to move forward. It's the only way. Civic life, everyone.
In terms of history, like you mentioned, it all depends on who you listen to. So everybody needs to be listened to get all the perspectives on history. And once you do that, then you can see what's going on. But ignoring history is not a good idea.
Right. I agree. Acknowledge the history, but also move forward into the future. If we stay stagnant and we keep talking about old news, we'll be stuck on yesterday's newspaper. So let's make a new one. Okay, so I will just note that we embrace all cultures, languages, gender identities, disability as a normal and valuable part of human diversity. We welcome inclusivity of every pronoun, non-English speaking, and disabled folks to participate and strive to provide dignified, connective, community-based experiences for all. Please contact us if you have any questions or comments about what accommodations we can provide. This meeting is now adjourned.
You need to add age and housing status to the list of people being respected too, because age was left out and also housing status, both of which are classes as well.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.